This is my first time running for political office. I've been very passionate about politics and about conservative values for a long time. And a lot of people, when they found out that I was running for Niagara West, most people know here, who's been entrenched in Niagara West for a long time, and that's Sam Oosterhoff for the PCs. And a lot of people, friends and family, I get kind of the same two questions. I would get, the first question would be, well, do you think you have a realistic shot at winning? Like, do you think you can really win this? And I always said the same thing to them. And I said, obviously not. No, I don't, actually. And then they would ask the second question. And the second question was, well, then why go through all this? Why run? And that answer was just as easy, actually, for me. And the answer to why run is because all of you deserve to have a voice on the ballot. And people with authentic conservative values that I share, they deserve to have a voice on the ballot. Because if everybody on that ballot got that idea in their head and thought the same way and thought, well, Sam's going to win, I'm not even going to bother, there would only be his name on the ballot, and that's not much of a democracy now, is it? Okay, so now there are 8 names on their ballot, and that sounds a little more like democracy. Although there's only one name at the top of the ballot, and that's mine. But back to Sam. I know I'm talking about him a lot. He is my primary opponent, and I do want voters to understand. And the more people I talk to, the more they get back to me and they say, people are disappointed in Sam. People have been let down that he's not voting in Parliament for their values. And yes, that seems to be the case. He did not vote against having critical race theory in the schools. He did not vote against Bill 67. The only person, as was alluded to earlier, that voted against that bill was the co-founder of our party, Belinda Carahelios. And I'm proud to now say that she was the only person who was MPP at the time that voted against that. And when I first started running, I was reached out to by a pro-life group. Now I'm blanking on the name, so I'm going to bring up the exact website. But I had to fill out a survey on this website. And they had a side-by-side comparison of all the candidates for every region, and they give them a rating, and you have to answer all these questions. And Sam was given a particularly positive rating by this pro-life website, but I found that very interesting because he didn't answer every question. He answered the way that they would have wanted him to for the questions that he did answer, but there was 2 in particular that he was not brave enough to give a yes or no. And the first of those questions was protecting parents' rights and giving them the ability to withdraw their students from the classroom if they had felt that there was going to be lessons that was dealing with abortion or sexual behaviors that might go against the religious beliefs that they want to raise their children with. So those values, not really part of the school curriculum, and our party is very, very strongly for parents' rights in being able to withdraw the children without consequence from those lessons if they don't believe that they're valuable for their son or daughter. And he didn't answer that question. I answered yes to that question. He didn't answer that question. And the other one was, and this was already talked about tonight, but will you support legislation to protect the right of healthcare workers who refuse to participate in procedures which are in violation of their religious or conscientious beliefs? And only one person answered yes to that question, and that was myself. Sam did not answer that question. So we need to ask ourselves, if Sam is really conservative, why is he not voting for what his voters put him there to do in the first place, which is to represent the constituents' values and beliefs in Parliament? And if he can't do that because Doug Ford is telling him to toe the line and he can't do it, well, I have news for you, there's an alternative, and that's the New Blue Party. Okay, I'm gonna get a little bit cheesy for this last bit because there's a couple quotes that have been on my mind lately as I'm going through this whole process and learning about the New Blue Party and being in that underdog position where we're climbing this big mountain and we have this, these lofty goals that we're trying to achieve, and they seem almost insurmountable for us to make an impact. And the first, I'm gonna age myself. Can I use that term, age myself? I think I can, right? So, being a millennial, grew up with Lord of the Rings. That was my favorite movie trilogy. And there's a quote in that movie has a lot of messages that kind of inspire hope in times that there is very little to have. And at one point in the second movie, King Theoden, he's going up against what seems like a completely hopeless situation. But before his men go into battle, he says of them, let me get the quote totally right. It was in my head. I rehearsed it before I got here. I've got it there somewhere. The quote was, "If this is to be our end, then I will have us make such an end to be worthy of remembrance." And this is not going to be our end, because New Blue's not going anywhere. But maybe we can make this election worthy of remembrance. Maybe this can be the election where we have a breakout, and people remember, wow, New Blue became the next big thing in 2025. And that's pretty cool to think about. And I think it's very realistic, and I think it's very possible, having seen sort of the state of things and talking to the people I've talked to and meeting all these authentic conservative people that are so disappointed in the status quo. I think we are on the road to do that this time around. And the second quote is not from a movie, the second quote's from real life, and it's a lot shorter. It's actually just one word. So earlier, I guess it was last year now, so last year, there was a man that was also fighting for his people's values and for his constituents. And eventually, he was ultimately rewarded for his efforts. But before that happened, he was shot in the head on live TV. And what was the first word that came out of his mouth? Yes, it was not screaming for help. It was not, I surrender. He was not yelling for mercy. He said, fight. And ain't that the truth? That's what we need to do. We need to fight, and I'm going to fight today and in the future for New Blue because we are the future of this province. Thank you.